Welcome to Cats and Rats Podcast, covering your Florida Panthers.
Hey everyone, welcome to the newest episode of the Cats and Rats, episode 35. I'm here as always with my co-host Cody Stevens. I didn't look up the jersey numbers today, Cody, on the guys.
I don't even have a clue who could have wore 35.
We'll have to get some people to put in the chat for us. I didn't show this last time, but here's my rat, and we're customs slid them open.
Oh, is that going to go on the ice in a couple days?
Oh, I didn't think of that. I gotta go buy mini ones. I didn't even do that.
I mean,
yeah, as of this recording, the Florida Panthers are going to be playing the Calgary Flames, and I'll be in attendance. Shout out to Canadian Ryan. He got me set up with a very nice ticket, second level. Very good Canadian price.
I hope they score a goal in front of you.
Did you see? I wanted to hold this up, all six of us. And why I'm holding this up right now is very own Cody was at the Vancouver game, and I think there was more than 6 fans of the Vancouver Canucks sitting with you, weren't there?
10, 11? 10, 11 of them.
You were outnumbered that much? I thought you were going to be outnumbered 8-1.
Yeah. Kind of just sat in the corner silently. Just watching the game, praying they do something. Never happened.
You said you had PTSD before having dinner in Vancouver, that it was going to have the same feeling as the year before. Cody, you jinxed. I said, give you positive thoughts, visualization.
Yeah, then, I mean, I wasn't wrong, was I?
I think the game last year was maybe
worse. It was worse. This game, they just got shut down. Last year, they got shut down and were bad.
Bad. This year, maybe a little sleepy, and Vancouver was physical, and I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah, and Vancouver was energized with their return of JT Miller, who seems to be a pretty popular guy in that locker room. He's had a pretty good odyssey over there in Vancouver, going from most liked to most hated, back to most liked. Like,
yes,
it's
very interesting story arc for him.
But we are here to talk about the goalies today. This has been a hot topic this year because around the NHL, goaltending has been quite a bit down this year.
Yeah, that stat that came out, I think it was on Instagram with all the save percentages there. I don't have it in front of me. I don't know if you all under 900, was it? Like for the division?
I think every division is below 895.
Below 895, you believe? Wow.
No, it's below 900. That's my fault.
Yeah.
The Eastern Conference has the worst goaltending this year, with the Atlantic having an 891 and the Metro having an 890.
Wow.
And the best division with goaltending is the Central, which makes sense. At the top of the food chain, you have Hellebuck, you have Soros, you have Andrew had a good start to the year. Philip Gustafson from Minnesota has been really well.
Yeah, he bounced back. Because remember last year he moved up the top 10 NHL rankings and he just kind of flopped to that top 10.
He had the one good game against us and just went.
Yeah. But remember coming into last year, he was like top 10 ranked in the NHL.
Oh, no doubt. But he got his coach fired because he couldn't make a save. I mean, that's nice.
Yeah. Well, that's always something in the league now. So our team's just going to end up firing their coaches every week because goalies can't make saves because the goaltending numbers are down.
I think there's going to be one coaching change in this division quite soon, if you ask me. I'm looking right at you at the wing wheel right now.
I didn't know if you're going to go with the palm trees, the Buffalo palm trees. I didn't know where you were going there.
Buffalo might go GM. I don't think they're going to go coach.
Yeah. But there is one team in the division that our fans don't want to hear this. And as of this recording, I don't think it's going to change after this recording. The Toronto Maple Leafs save percentage in goaltending has been pretty good this year.
Yep. They have the best save percentage in the Atlantic Division, and it's not even close.
What's Toronto's as of this?
As of this post by Golden Era Hockey on Instagram, they had a 911 save percentage.
That's almost where standard where you want it used to be, but right now where the league is at,
you're good with 900.
Yeah.
But no other team in the division is above 900. And I think it has to do with I think the shooters just got better this year. And I think we're still in a transition part with the goaltending position because we don't have as many stalwarts as we had 10 years ago. The Crawfords, the Quicks, the Lundqvist, the Price.
I was naming all these guys
earlier.
Yeah, you're naming them all.
Am I missing anyone? Holtby, I guess I'm gonna throw in that.
Oh, I forgot about him earlier when I was
He's a
thinking.
Vezina winner. I gotta throw him into that camp too.
I never clued Luongo in that. He transitioned from the early 2000s to 2010s. I think of the 2010s guys,
but then
right?
you have some
Lundqvist and Price at the top.
then you have some other guys who are kind of like I don't want to say mid because that's disrespectful to them, but they were a tier below, tier two, tier one or two tiers below these guys. Like Jimmy Howard,
Yeah.
Craig Anderson. Let's see, like Cam Ward was another one.
I didn't like this guy by Jonas Hiller.
He was there for a hot minute, a little bit,
Yeah. His numbers, you go look at some of those years, they're so up and down, but
and
he's
and Matt Murray. Matt Murray's like kind of in that. He kind of fell off a bit. Martin
including a block off in that area. Is he before?
the Bacchus a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Like Martin Jones a bit more.
Yeah. He had a high pedigree coming out of actually Calgary.
Yeah, but in terms of our goaltending, we have two goalies so far this year who have if you ask the fan, they probably have like the goaltending hasn't been as good as it has been in years past with Sergei Bobrovsky and Spencer Knight.
Mhm.
I really don't think the numbers I don't think they're as bad as the numbers say they have been.
That's what Paul Maurice came out when he was speaking about Sergei Bobrovsky. And if you guys are watching on YouTube right now, it's like with the fans, it's been a roller coaster of emotions with the goalies. I don't feel that from the position itself. I feel that from the fan base and how people are kind of picking it apart and what side they may be on or what their discussion is. It's very lively talk. It's good for us. It's good for content, but I don't think people across the board are aligned on this from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, it's just depends on who you ask. Like if you ask me, I think goaltending's probably it's not a big issue to me.
It's third or fourth for me. For me, we talked about it last podcast.
It's
Core of the
defense,
team.
it's defense, big gap,
Eh,
everything else.
Everything else to you, I would go big gap, depth forwards, a bit more of a gap, then into the goaltending, maybe third, fourth.
The depth
Second line would be in that discussion too. They started to get going since our last recording with Matthew.
the depth
But
forwards,
Carter Verhaeghe's still got to get going.
the depth forwards kind of is a little bit low, like hasn't is not as big as concern to me because of the emergence of Mackie Semiskevich.
That's true.
Like
I want him higher up the lineup.
we need him higher up. Like I'm like you can't put him on the fourth line here. He's creating all these chances,
Yep.
and the guys just can't finish.
You know who my whipping boy is this year, though. It's turning into. From our post-game spaces. And I apologize to everyone that hasn't heard us here on the podcast. We've been very busy, Cody, going through finals and things like that.
Yeah.
Some things on the production side, but we're live.
You have a couple whipping boys. I'm trying to think. Is it Nosek?
Yeah, Nosek.
Like
so, like Nosek is my guy right now. Last year, I would say it was a little bit loose though, but I was, aware of his injury from the playoffs in the Carolina Hurricanes series. He was slow coming out of the gate, but it was almost to the point where it's like, just let him sit. We've had Nosek be healthy scratch. We went over all the defense last time. It's been healthy scratch. I don't agree with the Mackey healthy scratches. Like, I think he needs to be in the lineup. He needs to be higher up in the lineup. But there is some depth forwards, Cody. Like, imagine if we had the guys we did last year. I said this to Nick off air. Like the Cousins, Lomberg, Lawrence, Stenlund was always in the lineup. A lot more of these guys, I think, would be healthy scratched in the lineup.
Yeah, the thing is, it's like I like my favorite. Like I love what AJ Greer has brought.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's been one of my favorite signings. Boquist has been a pretty good signing as well, even though he's had a tough go as of late.
But is the people they have a second line, third line, fourth line?
Like he's all over the place, but I like what he's bringing. Like he's giving effort every shift. He's not making any big mistakes defensively, staying above the puck, always there.
So this is a Maurice guy. So you're saying that Jesper Boquist is not a Rudy Balzers?
No, he can win a board battle. But I think like Boquist is probably like the newer version of I don't want to say Cousins, but I guess so.
Mm-hmm.
Where if he gets hot, you play him up with Kachuk and Bennett. But the minute he hits that rough patch, back to the fourth line you go.
I think he might have more offensive potential than Nick Cousins. Not what Nick Cousins had in June.
No, he has more skill, no doubt. He has way more skill
at the pro level.
But it's just I don't know. Like I like what he brings though. He's like Greer and Boquist are not the problems to me. Like Nosek has been a lot worse than I thought he'd be. Like it could be the injury, the slow start. Maybe he'll pick it up soon. Like it's still mid-December, early December.
Yeah, like Nosek, as of this recording, he's getting to that 20 game plus barrier. He's healthy scratched, I think 1 or 2 games, but he's getting to that point where I need to see it get going here.
Yeah, like
I pulled up Kevin Stenlund numbers. I don't want to get down this rabbit hole because we're trying to talk goalies here today, but he's really going well in Utah and how much minutes he's getting on the PK and minutes, even time on ice, Cody, just 5-on-5. I need to see that really bumped up by Nosek.
with Nosek, you need to start with the face-off numbers. The minute if he starts winning draws and he's like back above the 50% threshold, then you'll start seeing the improvements. That's what I'm looking for in him. Like the point totals that it's a fourth liner. I'm not expecting.
Yeah, I'm not thinking of that. I'm thinking of what
Like,
he's doing on the PK, the time he's getting on the PK, his average time on ice, face off
but
percentage mentions good one.
but
I'm
like
not giving up goals, maybe not allowing so much shots either.
yeah,
That's
like
fine.
yeah, like in Vancouver, Wolf, that was probably his worst game as a Panther. But
Yeah, and that's
and,
where some depth teams are getting to us here. And maybe see that on this Western trip, we need to have our depth.
and then you have and then I think a lot and then the topic has been the goaltending more of
get back to that. Sorry, everyone, but everyone probably wanted to hear that.
is Sergei Bobrovsky and Spencer Knight. Sergei Bobrovsky, I think, has a lot more carte blanche with the fan base currently because of the cup run, the last 2 playoff runs, as he should. And that's how I feel about him. Like, I'm not really too worried about him.
And I don't want to go down this path, Cody, but if we lost Game 7 of the Stanley Cup or lost that series back-to-back, Maurice and Bob would be getting the heat.
I think the whole team would. Thank God we won that
But there would
game.
be a lot on that goalie position with Knight sitting out. It would be, for not, they say a traditional hockey market or a big hockey market, it would be a lot of heat, I think, on the goaltending position.
Yeah. But if we did lose Game 7, I do believe Spencer Knight would not have been on the team because we would have made like probably a move, some sort, because.
Interesting.
But that you won the cup, now I don't want to say the urgency's down, but it's kind of down. It's not really like you're not like it's not like, oh, this is the year, like this is you got one. So it's not like you have to go like all in every year. Like I don't know how to say that. Like because for instance, the Blackhawks dynasty when they won their first cup, they went cup, first round exit. So I mean, it's not really like you're not really necessarily going to go back to back. Like we've had 2 long runs, and I think that's going to have something to do with like the end of the year. But that's just me, because going back 3 times, like I know Tampa did it, but but Tampa had the very first run being the bubble where they had that 3 month, like that 4 to 5 month break where it wasn't like a true grind like what the Panthers have done.
Yeah.
Like I can't remember a team going like because here's the thing. A stat that is interesting is like the last 2 cup winners lost in the first round the year after they won the cup. Colorado lost to Seattle the year after they won the cup in the first round in 7. And Vegas last year lost to Dallas. So is it a trend? I don't know. We'll see. But it's something to look out for. I mean, cup winners losing in the first round are not uncommon. Washington did it to Carolina the year after they won the cup. Aforementioned Chicago did it. I'm trying to think of anyone else. Because it went Tampa. Pittsburgh lost in the second round, so no. But because they went back to back second round.
Yeah, Cody's always so good at remembering the playoffs from the years I get stuff on that.
Yeah, because Pittsburgh won 16-17, Washington won 18.
Oh, I can go to the cup teams. Yeah. There's
St. Louis too, I believe. I'm not sure. The bubble was such a foggy memory. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I think they lost to Vancouver. I'm pretty sure I think they lost to Vancouver.
Cody, I know on our YouTube side, do you want to, not to move forward, you can continue there. Do we want to show some of the money puck numbers, or do we want to show Bob where he was getting beat last year? I believe it was during the Stanley Cup playoffs and then early in the Stanley Cup final there. I don't know what direction you want to go here.
We'll go with what he's gotten beat by and compare it to this year.
Okay.
So first one here, so during the playoffs last year, it was aforementioned that you needed to go high on Bob to beat him because down low, basically unbeatable. I mean, you can look at the number 7 goals on the lower part, mostly blocker side, low blocker.
Yep.
but he's been relatively has been relatively more common to be beaten by his glove hand or high blocker.
Yep. Both equally, blocker and glove side. Blocker 15 goals, glove side 16 during the
But
20
I think this
playoff.
is common for Russian goaltenders because Vasilevsky has the same thing.
Well, that's what they're starting to figure out with him. That's what the Toronto Maple Leafs supposedly unlocked in Derek Lalonde. By the way, this is courtesy of Sportsnet,
Yeah.
and they talked about the same thing with Andrei Vasilevsky on Sportsnet the year that the Toronto Maple Leafs knocked
Yeah,
off Lightning.
because they were beating with shots from the point and that were going high. Because these goalies now, I can't stand it. Neither can you. They're really taught to go down early, which is why they're getting beat above the glove and the blocker now.
And a guy, I don't want to get off topic, but a guy like Carter Verhaeghe can come off the boards and just fire it there because the goalie's already dropping across the league.
Yeah, especially if it's a screen, they're taught to go down to look past the screen.
Yep.
Like Vasilevsky's really as one of the guys that does it the most. He's on his knees and he has his arms wide and his head's like moving around.
Yep. And I know you talk about this with Bob, but I've seen it with Anthony. Even though he's had a solid year in Toronto, when he's dropped down to his knees against us in that game, dropping down early, and I'm like, that's 1-2 goals where you can beat him. And I bet Florida knows that and has game plan for Stoller. So watch for that more that we play Toronto.
And then this was game one
Yep.
of the Edmonton series, which Bob had the shutout.
But look where Edmonton was shooting in that game one on Bob.
Yeah, which was kind of weird because in game one they had a breakaway. I forget who it was,
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
and he tried to go 5-hole.
I think it was Hopkins. Yeah.
And like I remember the broadcast being like, "Why would you go 5-0 on Bob? He's virtually unbeatable."
Literally, Sportsnet is showing them you guys went over 20 shots, 25 shots along the ice. You need to go high on Bob. They only went 4 to his blocker, 2 to his glove in that game one Stanley Cup final.
But and this is why, as of late, the Panthers are missing the net quite a bit because I guarantee you a lot of goalies have the same blueprint because all of them are pretty much being taught the same thing.
Yep.
The only one I don't think could be taught like this is Yusei Saros, and that's because he's an undersized goaltender.
Yeah, Dustin Wolf is another one. There's not a lot of small goalies around the league.
And
That's starting to come back in a little.
And I believe that's going to make a comeback now because of this.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
is there any others that we're missing there that are on the smaller side?
Saros and Wolf are the ones that come to mind.
I think that Bloomquist guy in Pittsburgh, he's a young guy.
I'm not sure. I don't know much about him to really say that because
he does get beat high, but he's a really good goalie along the ice. And
like Bobrovsky, big guy, like tall, lanky guy. Vasilevsky, same thing.
Yeah. Gustafson's big. Stolarz is like
Stolarz is like 6'6".
Markstrom is huge. Former Panther guys here.
Yeah, like that's one thing I think is starting to come back into style are the smaller goalies.
Yeah, and teaching technique. And I like the bigger goalies, but if it's going to bring these smaller guys back into the game and make them more agile and aggressive and actually play the position, not play the percentages, play the position. That's why I love the goaltending position code. When I grew up with Roberto Luongo and all these guys, John Van Beesbrook, little goalie, very agile, very athletic. Mike Richter, little guy. Belfour fair sized him, but another guy played athletic. Hasek, that's just crazy technique. Brodeur played stand up.
Hasek to me is the greatest goalie ever,
with an unorthodox style that no one can replicate.
His style was I'm just gonna stop the puck. Like that was his style. Like nowadays, like this is what Spencer Knight's guilty of to me.
Yes.
It's too robotic. Because Dominic Hasek played with an instinct that no other goalie I've ever seen has. For those of you who have never seen him play, go watch any highlight. Mainly him in Buffalo or him in Detroit.
Yep.
Or Ottawa, anywhere. Like, he was a beast.
And with Detroit, he was behind such a legendary defense and team. He didn't have to do the things like to what made him what he was.
I didn't watch. I could barely watch back then, but I probably could imagine like as like if you knew hockey well enough, you're like, oh, this is an automatic cup for them.
Yeah. And that's what people thought was going to come to Ottawa, but I think he has some injuries there and some just little inconsistency things. I think it was injuries.
I could see the injuries happening with that.
Groin was catching up on him in age and stuff like that.
I mean, but he was
overusage back in the day with forwards.
In unorthodox style and what in like now that like Bob is kind of like Bob's 37, so he is who he is now. He's not going to change much, if anything.
Yep.
Maybe he'll stay on his feet a bit more, but I doubt it.
Mm-hmm.
Like this
Are you
is,
surprised how much games he's been getting here? Because you thought probably the workload would be a lot different by the holiday season here approaching.
I think they're just trying to get him going a bit. I think it's different this go around because last year he was on all season.
I know you want to maybe pull up some of those Vezina numbers here in a second, Cody, and we'll go from last year and what fans maybe have kind of unrealistic expectations right now of what he did last year. We can kind of show those numbers and go back in time because I think it's very important to let our fans know where he was last year, Cody.
I mean, 237 goals against, 915 save percentage, and 6 shutouts, which is probably one of the better regular season goaltending performances the Panthers have had since Tomas Vokoun.
Okay.
Maybe even the Longo in his second stint here. I think that 15-16 season, maybe.
Maybe, I'd have to go big deeper into that. And our fans thought those numbers that you see on our screen, if you're on our YouTube side, were good enough to win the Vezina. No, Hellebuck had it on
Oh,
lock.
no.
It was between second and third, which we're going to show you here in a second, with Bobrovsky and Demko. Demko's been injured here all year. I think I sent a tweet there from Luke Fox, I believe, and it kind of shows the voting breakdown. You can go over it there, Cody.
I would have went second for Bob because of Demko's injury. And Bob played the whole year. Demko really didn't. But Bob was the only other goalie to get a first place Vezina vote.
Yeah. But Bob had more third place, but I don't think he should have been 30 points off from Demko from 70 points to Bobrovsky with 40.
No, but it was Hellebuck's award from October to the end of the season.
Yeah.
He's probably the best goaltender in the NHL right now.
Yeah, and he's reclaimed that top position where he didn't have it there for a while. It was him and Vasilevsky, and then there's some slippage in Hellebuck's game and where he fell off. And where we see as a fan base now, Bob has elevated himself, especially in the playoffs. But again, Vezina regular season award, numbers excellent, elite last year from Bob, but we can't really expect that coming into this season off of 2 long playoff pushes. And people could be, well, look at his contract. And we talk about this nightly on our post game.
He's worth the contract at this point.
Yeah,
he got you the
gotta
cup.
let it play out.
He's got the cup now. Like if this was 2 years ago, you're like, oh, we got to move this. Now you can't. He's a part of the identity.
Yep. Because fans would be very micromanaging some of these numbers, looking at these Vezina votes last year, looking at his statistics from last year. But you got to let him play it out, and you got to put a better defense in front. We're not going to go down that path again like last episode, but I'm going to keep pounding that drum. Then you can kind of see where his numbers regulate. I did send you some advanced numbers there, Cody. I think Knight's advanced numbers have been a little bit more balanced towards Bob's there now. Knight's advanced numbers were a bit higher. This was a few days ago from Money Puck, so not quite up to date, but you can kind of see the leaders there. I don't know if you want to point any of them out.
Yeah,
Kevin and that you saw in Vancouver there.
This is like I said, but one big guy for this year so far, Lucas Dostal, has been a revelation for Anaheim. Like he's facing 50 shots a game. And then, you have the Dustin Wolf at 15, Joey Decord is having a good year, Logan Thompson, who should have been on the Four Nations roster at
He's
6.
in that top 6, top 10 range. Yep.
Talbot, I haven't watched enough of.
Yeah, I haven't caught too much of Talbot. That surprised me when I seen his name up there in the,
They
top
have
5.
Sorokin and Vasilevsky.
Vemelka's up there too, right?
Yeah, Vejmelka.
He's getting more starts and things like that. I think
I've always liked Vejmelka. I've already told you this.
I like him more than Ingram. I'm surprised though. Where
I like Utah. Like Utah has always had a good goaltending team, and then you have the bottom of the barrel, Connor Ingram at the top. Georgiev, who
the whole Colorado experience since this last recording, all the trades they've been making,
just rough. Then you have Devin Levi. Hey, old friend, how you doing?
Yeah, he was sent down to the minors there, right?
Yeah, Swayman is having a rough year.
Yeah, is he starting to balance back a little bit?
I have no idea. I don't think so.
Because the goals against what we've given up and what Boston's been giving up is pretty close right now, Cody.
But they got pumped 8-1 like 2 nights ago, and I think he was in net.
those numbers there might not reflect that, but I'm talking like goals against for team wise. I don't know. They're a little bit giving up a little bit more than the Panthers, but
I
we're starting.
would, I would have to look. Where are they at? Because
Yeah, I pulled it up last night.
as of this recording, Boston's last game, they lost 5-1 to Seattle.
Yeah,
And Jeremy Swayman's at an 885 save percentage with a 3.27 goals against.
yeah.
And
And a system that's supposed to kind of be defensively sound coming into the year.
they're kind of out of whack. But as you can see, our very own Spencer Knight is at 19 with negative 3.4 goals. But here's the thing about this though. The the Pittsburgh game really skews this the wrong way for Knight.
Okay, explain. You
Like,
are a Knight backer. I'm not a Knight doubter, but I do have some concerns and things like that.
and that's granted. Like
I
if
want to see him against tough competition.
here's the thing. If you're against Knight, I can't really say that you're wrong. You're like, if the 4.5 could be used elsewhere, you're not wrong.
Like you're talking to the audience.
Yeah. If you're thinking that, you're not wrong. Like we had this discussion on Spaces last night, and Carly was on the other side of the fence, and so was Ryan Guida, Baseball Ryan.
Yeah.
Like they're not wrong in anything they've said. The thing is just
bringing a lot of numbers and stats to the table.
Yeah. But the thing is just I think they're just looking directly at this year where I'm trying to look at like 2-3 years down the road.
Yeah. But then they were pushing back and saying we're in a cup now window. And you are looking at a window that's 5-6 years, but you don't want to burn like half of those years for any particular reason.
Yeah, but it's just sometimes it happens. But it's just I'm a Knight believer because he's a big game goalie. Whenever the light got the brightest, he always was the best guy on the ice. World Juniors gold medal game, shutout. You throw him against in Tampa, game 5, go win or go home.
Mm-hmm.
It's up one of the best goaltending performances a rookie's had in the playoffs. Like I remember those, like the whole the player assistance program threw the whole wrench in that.
That's what I was just jumping in because if you and Canadian Ryan are on one side and Ryan Guida, we call him Baseball Ryan, and Carly are on the other side, and I was kind of in the middle moderating you guys, and we had a couple other speakers come in there. We had a Canucks speaker come in there, some other people come in throughout the night. I question how you can say with certainty how he's going to be moving forward coming out of the assistance program. No one knows, I would say. And that's the part that's a little, I'm not throwing him away, but I'm also not anointing him the number one. It's to me, I'm like,
there's no anointing in the situation, but he's got to earn it. But one thing, we got to play better in front of him, man.
You say that about Knight. I say that about both goalies, and I've seen it with Bob.
But Knight has gotten the shorter end of the stick than Bob has this year.
And I want to comment in the chat on this.
And the Philly game is the prime example of it. Because the Philly game was like, you could say, oh, he needs to make a save. If you're getting mad at the goalie for not bailing out, your anger is misjudged.
No.
Like, if I gotta get mad at the goalie for bailing me out, why am I not getting mad at the guys who are causing these situations that he has to bail us out? Because we were turning the puck over right in front of him. And because the Owen typical, the first one, right in front of him, bang, one-timer, I don't know what you want him to do. I really don't. The first one also, remember, it went off the skate, it went one way or the other.
Yeah, deep in his net, if you're talking about Washington. Oh, sorry, I was the Washington game. Sorry.
No, the Philly one where it was on the power play, it went right off Forrester's skate, came back.
Oh, yeah.
Like, tough play.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, horrible, needs to be better.
Yeah, Pittsburgh was like, you're not finding your net. You're kind of lost where your angle.
And I think that's the one thing he needs to improve on is to stay mentally kind of in it because he was just lost the entire night.
Yeah. Because you got to stay mentally in a night situation if you're not getting enough starts or Bob goes down and you're getting 3 or 4 starts. Whatever your situation is as night, you've just got to play. Whether it's limited starts or it's 3 out of 4 games, Cody. And that's going to be a challenge that rises.
And here's the best part. You get to watch him live.
Is he confirmed?
I believe he's confirmed for Calgary.
Okay.
Which I agree with. I think he deserved. I think you needed him to start to get this road trip because it's a 5-gamer.
I think he's 0-2 all time against Calgary. Canadian Ryan was pulling up his numbers. One was a home game at home, and then one was on the road in Calgary. Kind of after that post bubble, there wasn't a lot of people in the crowd. But yeah, he's not great numbers in Calgary, so I'm worried there. Not like Bob has had good numbers. Not a lot of goalies have good numbers last year, but it sets up Bob for that Stanley Cup rematch with Edmonton.
Like when Luongo was in Florida, you know what team killed him the most?
When he was in Florida? Well, Minnesota or something?
Minnesota.
Yeah. That's when he broke his stick and
broke his stick, nearly hit Trocheck.
But he did that from Florida because I think he struggled against Minnesota when he was in Vancouver.
Like, I don't know. That's why you have such like a bad recollection of Minnesota. Like, because of those times. But it's just with the whole Spencer Knight thing is like you have to let this year play out unless you get an offer you cannot refuse at the deadline for him, which I don't see because they're just like.
And our fans always want to say, what can we get from him because of that $4.5 million price tag? That's what's really jamming us up with the cap. There's some other deals. You can say the same with Bob's. You can say the same with some other players. But that is a big one, a big talking point for the fan base.
Yeah, but it's really truly like $2 million that's kind of tied up. Because there's a lot of these fans that want to re-sign Solars. He's making 2.5 right now. That's just $2 million. So the 4.5, oh, we could use that on a defenseman. Well, we don't have a backup goalie now. Like that's why you can't really afford to move because Drieger's been horrible in the AHL.
Yeah.
You have Ken Appleby, who actually got a shutout tonight. Good job, Appleby. But he was so bad in that preseason game. You're kind of terrified to bring him back.
Could say pucks along the ice and like beach ball, right? But like, yeah, with Knight there, and I don't think our fans understand around the league. You have to pay 2.5 plus. That's maybe a good deal for Toronto. Obviously, looking at right now with Stars, but 2.5 ain't chump change. It's pretty good money. And there's goalies like you pay north of that. So like you said, you're only saving maybe $1 million, $1.5 million too. And if Knight really turns it up, like you believe, especially Cody, then you're like, now you're going.
Like if he turns it up, like because if he turns it up in the back half of the year where you're just like, man, we can't move him, and you're like, damn, we can't really move either goalie here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they jammed you this year, but then maybe it gives you more promise for what's ahead.
Yeah, like
you look at
because
don't throw away this year, but you kind of like
it away.
You know what, we got more in net now.
But it's not a throwaway year if I find out, oh yeah, this is going to be my guy for the next 7-8 years.
Yeah, even though he's backing up Bob.
Yeah, but that extends the window. Like it extends it because you have a goalie now. That's
more question marks if you move off him. I think you can still manage it and work it, Cody. But there's more question marks again. Now you're like, okay, now we're pivoting off of him. Where are we going now?
Yeah, like that's
we don't have Askarov or Wallstad.
But Askarov got traded because Nashville didn't want I don't know.
Exactly. Or we don't have Dustin Wolf. We don't got another goalie there that we're like, well, we can pivot to that guy.
Like, oh, Q Jamie. We have a guy in Russia. He hasn't come over here yet.
Q Matthew. We've got
Cooper Black. He's in the ECHL now. Like he's Stolar's light. Like he's like 6'9", I think. I remember watching him at Dev Camp. I'm like, oh man. But like what the Knight thing is, like you just explained exactly why I don't want to get rid of him. Because I believe he could pop. And if he pops, you have an answer in net for 5 plus years, and you don't have to, and like you have to pay him like whatever the market price is, probably like what, $7 million at that point.
Yeah.
But if he's your number one and you're paying him $7 million, that's pretty damn good if you ask me. Especially the way goalies are. I mean, Shesterkin just got 11.5, but he's the best player on the Rangers, so I mean, he's not going to get anywhere close to that. But I don't because if people want to call me giving Knight this run this year, throwing away the year, which I don't think it is, but then you could call it throwing away the year because I want to see what I have in him. I'm not giving him till February. No, I'm not doing that. Because if he becomes what his potential is, he may or may not. Like, if this season he doesn't show you in the offseason you have a trade that you can't refuse, I'm not against it. At that point, I'm like, okay, he gave it his run, but it's just not going to work here. Move on. Same thing with Owen Tippett. They gave him every opportunity. They moved on. I have zero regrets with him.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't going to be what he is in Philly over here.
Panthers fever is here. Are you geared up? CanesWear in Davie is the place for all your Florida Panthers needs. They have the latest gear for our favorite NHL team. Jerseys, polos, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. CanesWear has you covered. Stop by their store in Davie or at pantherswear.com Again, that's PanthersWear, WEAR.com for all your Panthers gear.
Yeah.
But
we're gonna revisit this goalie discussion as we go along. We were planning to have Armando on from Locked On Network. Hopefully have him on here next week or for our next episode. Anything else in closing that we got to give to? Got the fantasy football Cats and Rats playoffs going on. We've got the hockey league going in full stride right now. You and Nick are sitting outside of a playoff position in the hockey league.
I'm winning right now, and I got an Allmark shutout, so we're looking pretty good right now.
Yeah. So,
but the playoffs, fantasy football, 10 straight wins going into the playoffs. I should have a bye, but we need to fix that next year. But
okay, you're assistant commissioner. You can give suggestions.
I didn't think about it this year, but it was just a run. But I mean, but appreciate you guys listening. And as always, Kirby,
let's go Cats.